is. And if you've never seen me before, yes, I can speak Japanese. これから証明させていただきます。今回も前回と同じようにフリーレンのローカリゼーションを3つの観点から見ていきたいと思います。主人公の声優パフォーマンス、キャスト全体の演技、そしてローカリゼーションの正確さ。Let's actually start with localization since it's the least problematic section. The subs are not worth complaining about. It did its job, but what does need a lot of attention is the dub, because the dub actually shined best in this criteria. Localization is doing your very best so that people could not just understand, but connect with the piece of work on a deeper level. I can note many instances where the dub could have horribly flopped, but it didn't. One of the scenes that were extremely hard to Englishize was this scene.
Could you maybe drop the Mr. part?
Let me know in the comments if you want a cultural deep dive of this scene, but the TLDR is that Stark just wants Fern to drop the Sama honorific because it puts a lot of distance between the two of them. But you wouldn't really understand the weight of this gesture unless you're well familiar with the Japanese language and culture. There's also Haiter's Stauchi in episode 4, which is a very rough and aggressive way to show your anger and annoyance in Japanese. This was translated as
the tongue click of rage.
And they made this make sense without losing the weight of the original. Sort of. I also appreciate the choice to add an archaic fantasy English flair to suck you into the world more. So good job on that. Localization gets an 8.8 out of 10. The main character performance was the absolute worst part of this show. And while I subjectively give it a 2, let's actually objectively analyze why it wasn't good. And it starts with Frieren's personality and the impression that the creator intended for her to give off. If you were to briefly describe Frieren's personality, it would be indifferent or dry, usually detached and shows little to no emotion. That doesn't mean that she's cold-hearted. In fact, she's kind and caring. And now that we've looked at Frieren's personality, let's actually look at some evidence. These clips will be short to prevent copyright, but feel free to analyze the whole scene yourself later. Exhibit A.
それもそっか。I suppose you're right.
And I know that wasn't enough, so here's Exhibit B.
そうかもね。Yes, perhaps.
And if that wasn't enough, here are some more notable references in case you're not convinced. But basically, she sounds more melancholy than distant. She sounds like she's brooding over something and she's so breathy. Another problem is this. There seems to be some consensus among the Japanese fans that Frieren is supposed to look between the ages of 13 through 18. And while the Japanese Frieren sounds like this age range with her voice light and childlike, the English Frieren sounds older, more sultry, almost as if she's trying to seduce someone, which doesn't fit the intended personality for Frieren. Admittedly, however, there were some good Frieren scenes in the English dub. The most notable scene was her fight between Aura, and she really did a good job on that. And that brought up the score for this section to a 4.5 out of 10. Yes, there were a lot of good supporting actors in the English dub, but there were a lot more bad or mismatched voices. Let's start with the good. Fern had the best and most fitting performance out of all of them. She had the same vibe as the Japanese Fern, but with a different flavor. Jill Harris's acting was spot on. Let's talk about Serie, because Serie's English and Japanese image were completely different. While the English Serie sounded more traditionally feminine, the Japanese Serie sounded more androgynous. It was actually hard to tell if she was male or female. And though it took me some time to get used to the image shift, I think that Anastasia Munoz's acting was actually pretty good. Flama had the third best acting among the cast, with Heiter and Aizen just behind her. Now, Himmel and Stark were the most disappointing out of all of them. Himmel sounds like he was reading lines from a script of a high school play, and expect a video about why Stark's acting wasn't very good, if you were following me. Now, with all that said, this section receives a 6 out of 10. Overall, Frieren gets an objective score of 6.4 out of 10, while subjectively, I give it a flat 2. The dub was objectively mid. Let me know what you think in the comments, and like and follow for more anime and Japanese related content. See you!